3, 2, 1.
Great cities all over the world have great public art, and Houston has great public art.
We are the next great city, and we're in the process of celebrating and telling that story right now. And the core of its success is art.
This is how greatness happens. Nothing that humanity remembers, values as a unique contribution was ever made completely by the books.
The George R. Brown is a very utilitarian building. It's also got a lot of charm. It's got its personality with a red, white, and blue theme. But it's also the catalyst for bringing business to downtown. There's an opportunity for everyone that visits the convention center to get to know Houston. And so the challenge for us was how do we get people to know Houston if sometimes they come for a conference and they have to leave within 3 days and they don't get to stay?
So the Houston Arts Alliance, we were commissioned to identify 2 artists and 2 projects. One for the main atrium of the space, which would be one of the primary gathering spaces, and then a huge signature art piece for the exterior.
With the addition of these 2 pieces, we've now created a collection of public art that is wholly unique to this place.
Ed Wilson's a Houston-based artist, went to University of Houston. I like to refer to him as a sculptor's sculptor. He very much works with his hands. So there's something very special about having, a piece that was made in Houston by Houston hands, by Ed Wilson's hands.
More than anything, with Ed Wilson's piece, it's just a beautifully handcrafted piece. And in this building that's so industrial and machine-like, it just seemed appropriate to have that handmade touch.
Well, yeah, let me think what my inspiration for this piece, Soaring in the Clouds, was. I guess it was probably several things. I mean, one was just the space. This space right here. Having a space this big and how you could activate that space to make something big enough, energizing enough to really fill the space. There were logistical things that I had to figure out, like these larger cloud shapes. They started out as flat pieces of steel that were 8 feet by 10 or 12 or 14 feet even, and I wanted them to have this undulation and not be flat. And I really couldn't find anything that would make it happen, so I designed a machine and had the machine fabricated, and then I had a machine that I could make the form. So we made like all the pieces and just piled them up in the studio till we thought we had enough. And then we started to assemble as far as we could go into the studio, which turned out to be like 14 sort of modular units that are the larger shapes with the smaller shapes hanging under them. Then they went into crates and came here. If you think about like making a sculpture for this space, it's kind of hard. So the approach was like, okay, well, I can make a bunch of little things and put them together and make a bunch of little things become a big thing that controls this big space. The whole building of this piece has been it's been a real joy. I've worked with great people. I've met a lot of great people, and a lot of people went into making this thing happen. Normally my work is kind of a lonely thing, I'm in the studio, sometimes with an assistant, sometimes not, but not in like big sort of collaboration. So it has turned into a big collaboration with lots of people. Lighting was always part of the deal. I didn't know exactly how the lighting was going to work, but early on, whenever I got the architectural models or plans for this space, I built a model of it in the space and started playing with the lights, and it became apparent that the ceiling was going to be where the light should end up, because the ceiling was like a big canvas. And so just by the way we did the lights, it made the piece even bigger. It merges the art and the architecture. They sort of become one. They become sort of inseparable. I mean, that ceiling is, part of this, and this is part of the ceiling. I mean, so building and sculpture become the same thing. I wanted the piece to be accessible to anyone that might walk into this convention center, be it the offshore guy or the quilt ladies or whoever, or the construction workers. The construction workers are digging it. So it's a public piece. I want it to be accessible to all.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
As the piece was going in, it was so exciting to watch people walking by at night. Everybody would stop and take a picture. That had me know that we had accomplished our goal, that this would be a work of art that would be a centerpiece in this building, something enjoyed by all Houstonians and all visitors.
I think a piece could be easily lost here. Ed managed to fill the space not with just the piece in the birds and the clouds, but also of light, reflections, cast shadows.
I can't get myself to move out of that space when the lights are on. It moves you into a completely different place. It's beautiful, and it's just a stunning, stunning piece.
The artwork really had to work at a large scale, and happily the one that we've placed in the atrium really works well at a distance. It reads really well. The one that's being installed right now by Creative Machines we're particularly excited about, because not only is the scale appropriate, but between the lighting and the special effects and the kinetic movement, it's really going to be a showstopper for this area.
Joe O'Connell Creative Machines proposed creating one of the largest kinetic sculptures in the world, Wings Over Water.
Well, I like to sometimes think of myself as Ringo Starr, like the luckiest Beatle. I am surrounded by almost 50 people in my company, and all of them, in a sense, are better at what they do than I am.
One of the things that I thought was very exciting about Wings Over Water and Joe O'Connell and Creative Machines is that this is a company and a team of artists who had extensive engineering experience. So they created an incredible vision for a really wonderful work of art, but they also had the means and the skills to be able to build it.
In many ways, this piece was inspired by the populism and openness of Houston to newcomers. Birds see it on their migration northward and rest for several days in Houston after their flight across the Gulf. And I know that many people get their start in the modern economy in Houston. Wings Over Water involves a really highly choreographed sequence of installations. So our work is actually interleaved with work on the fountain. We have 2 trucks arriving, spaced apart by 2 days. The first truck carries the central motor that drives the entire sculpture and its various control apparatuses and connections, and it includes the side supports for the helix and the helix itself. Those are bolted, and then we align those pieces with lasers and various surveying instruments. Then those get locked down. Then 2 days later, the main upright supports, which are huge stainless steel constructions that had to go on a special truck. Those are craned into place, and we come back a month later with the wings and everything that goes above, that goes 30 feet in the air. That coordination happens often with the fountain guys working in the day, us doing our installation at night. We work at night because in order to crane that in and get a lift up so one of our guys can disconnect the crane from what it's lifting, we have to block traffic. And it's better to block it at night than in the day. We're installing all 32 of what we call the winglets. Those are those individual fabric-covered structures that you see at the top of the sculpture. In the last 2 days, we got 24 of them in place, and we have the final 8 winglets to put into place. We'll be doing that today, weather permitting. It's a highly choreographed action involving 2 boom lifts, a crane, multiple people on the ground with guide wires, a guy ready to make the bearing attachment top and bottom. And so far it's gone really smoothly. The big part of phase 2 should be done today, if everything goes well. It's very exciting.
This is what makes me really excited about public art, is this moment where after years of planning and phone conversations and construction drawings and engineering drawings and safety considerations, we turn it on and we get to see something like this.
Seeing the lights on the sculpture for the first time, the sculpture over actual water is tremendously exciting. Seeing the sculpture operate with all the push rods and wings in place, every new experience confirms, I guess, the ideas we had, but you never know until you put it all together. And it's all coming together now, which is extremely exciting.
It is, in a fun, simple way, it is going to be that selfie spot that we're going to see people from all over the planet taking home and putting on social media and etc. But in a more substantial way, it also reflects the fact that this city is endless in its spirit and its energy and its enthusiasm and its embrace of everyone. It's going to be that place where we see people from all over the world sending their best of Houston home.
I'm very proud of our city. I'm very proud of everyone that participated in this project, from the mayor to the mayor's city council. Everybody that supported this project should be very proud of what we've been able to accomplish on behalf of the city. And I hope that this suggests that there are other opportunities in other parts of the city to incorporate art into civic spaces in the way that we've done here at the George R. Brown.
Public art is a process. Public art is construction, it's planning. Public art is about an artist with a vision, but also seeing how that vision comes from the context of being in a certain location.
This is our new front yard. So we'll be here celebrating our city every day with our visitors from across the world. It's going to be the most exciting place in Houston.
There's no other place to be than right here in the city of Houston. I don't care where you go, any place in the world. There's no place like Houston, Texas. There's just no place.